step into the shadows, into caves that have swallowed explorers whole, left experts baffled, and turned thrilling adventures into unforgettable tragedies. These aren't just stories of danger. They're chilling reminders of how quickly wonder can become terror when curiosity meets the unknown. Whether you're a cave enthusiast or just someone who's ever wondered what lies beneath the surface, this is a journey you won't forget. So, buckle up. Here are 10 of the most chilling cave tragedies ever recorded. Bob Thomas, the mystery diver of Tilly Foster Mine. Bob Thomas wasn't your average thrill seeker. This guy lived for danger. Navy vet, master diver, lover of mountains, and the Houston Astros. Diving wasn't just his hobby, it was part of who he was. In 2017, Bob went on what was supposed to be a routine dive at the Tilly Foster Mine in Putnam County, New York. But this wasn't just any cave, it was an old iron mine turned flooded death trap after a collapse in the 1800s. Even worse, a teenager named Robin Murphy had vanished here in 1995. Bob had been diving with a volunteer group, trying to find closure for Robin's family. He'd already made over 90 dives in the mine, but on November 19th, things spiraled fast. His air started running low. No backup tank, no room for error. While exploring deeper in search of clues, Bob got turned around in the silt and tight passages. He tried to retrace his steps, but panic crept in. Worse yet, he got tangled in underwater cables, and his remaining air ticked away. He blacked out from lack of oxygen, just 171 feet below the surface. By the time the rescue team found him the next day, it was too late. A memorial stone now rests at the site, honoring his bravery and unrelenting spirit. Plura Cave, Norway, the deadly dive that shattered a team. Northern Europe's deepest cave, the Plura system in Norway, is a surreal underwater labyrinth. It draws elite divers from around the world. But in February 2014, 5 Finnish divers discovered just how deadly beauty can be. They weren't rookies. These were experienced men aiming to complete one of the most dangerous cave traverses on the planet. Their goal? A full dive through Plura to Steinlaflaga. Over 130 meters deep, everything started off fine until Jari Hinen got trapped, a simple cord snag. But in the pitch dark, underwater, that's all it takes. He started panicking. His breathing turned rapid. Deadly levels of CO2 built up in his system. And just like that, he drowned. One diver tried to save him, another lost his own life in the chaos. When the group surfaced, 2 were dead. The surviving members suffered decompression sickness. Against all odds, weeks later the team returned, secretly, with 27 divers. Their mission? Recover their friends. And they did, risking everything for a vow. No one gets left behind. Buzzard Roost Cave, Kentucky, the fall that ended a holiday. Memorial Day weekend, 1993. While most were grilling burgers, William and his friends chose something different. A cave expedition in Cave City, Kentucky. Buzzard Roost Cave isn't for beginners. Sharp rocks, narrow ledges, deep drops. But that didn't stop them. After warming up on a historic cave tour, they signed up for the wild one, the real deal. Inside the cave, they reached a 30-foot cable ladder. No helmets, no real safety gear, just flashlights and adrenaline. William wanted a photo of the group climbing down, but as he shifted for a better angle, a ledge beneath him gave way. He fell 50 feet, crashed into the cave floor, unconscious, bleeding. His friends were in shock. Rescue teams raced to reach him, but moving him through the cave's tight passages was painfully slow. Despite their efforts, William died the next day. A thrilling trip turned tragic. A reminder that caves don't forgive mistakes. Paul Hayden, the deadly air pocket. Paul wasn't just a cave diver. He was a pararescue expert from the Air Force, the kind of guy who trained for danger, but even that couldn't save him. In 2000, he returned with his brother to a flooded cave system they'd explored since childhood. Paul wanted to go deeper than ever before. Using scuba gear, he entered a narrow shaft and spotted what looked like an air pocket. Thinking it was safe, he surfaced and removed his mouthpiece. But something was off. Almost instantly, Paul passed out and sank. That air wasn't oxygen. It was filled with carbon dioxide, likely from rotting vegetation and poor circulation. By the time rescue crews found him, he was long gone. A tragic end for someone trained to survive the worst. Sergei Kozeyev, the solo descent into darkness. No one in their right mind goes solo into the world's deepest cave. But Sergei Kozyf wasn't most people. In 2020, he secretly entered Veryovkina Cave in Georgia. No permits, no team, just a rope and ambition. He made it to 3,600 feet before the cold overwhelmed him. His gear wasn't enough. Worse, he'd forgotten the clamps he needed to climb back up. He was stuck. His body was found months later, after a team of 100 climbers carefully retrieved his remains from the depths. A dream of meaning turned into a frozen grave. Abbey Caves, New Zealand. A school trip turned nightmare. It was supposed to be a fun school trip, outdoor education at its finest. 15 students, 2 teachers, and an adventure inside Abbey Caves. But that morning in May 2023, New Zealand weather took a dark turn. Rain warnings were ignored, and inside the cave, things went from exciting to terrifying. Water started rising fast. Passages flooded. One student, 15-year-old Karan, lost his footing and was swept away. Outside, a construction worker noticed the commotion. He called for help, ran to the cave, and assisted in the rescue. Most students got out, but Karan didn't make it. His body was recovered hours later, a tragedy that stunned a nation and left an entire school in mourning. Peter in Sterkfontein Cave, trapped in time and darkness. In South Africa's Sterkfontein cave system, Peter, a curious seasoned diver, took one wrong turn. While exploring with friends, he strayed from the main path and got lost in the twisting underwater passages. His friends searched but couldn't find him. Peter, however, was alive, trapped in a small air pocket for 3 weeks. With no food, no rescue, just silence. He wrote messages on the cave walls, final notes to his family. When his body was found, he'd lost 44 pounds. The air pocket that saved him briefly became his tomb. Ricard Dionisio, the ghost of his Ark Cave. Spain's Cadel's Ark Cave system is short, only about 262 feet long, but it's known as the Cave of Caskets for a reason. In 2014, Ricard and his friend dove into it without a guideline rope. The moment their fins kicked up the silt, visibility vanished. Panic set in. Ricard didn't make it out. His friend, barely alive, was found clinging to a rock in an air pocket, exhausted, freezing, hallucinating. It was one of Spain's most complex dive rescues, and Ricard's name joined the growing list of those claimed by the cave. The pair had trained for months, running drills and memorizing cave maps, but nothing could prepare them for the silt out that unfolded. The cave's floor was covered in soft sediment, and once it was disturbed, it clouded the entire passage like thick smoke. With no visual cues and no rope to follow, they lost their bearings almost instantly. The water turned cold quickly, and every kick used up more air. Ricard became disoriented and drifted away from his partner. Alone and desperate, his friend found a slim crack in the rock that led to a narrow pocket of air, barely enough to survive. Hours later, when rescuers found him, he was shaking uncontrollably and mumbling incoherently. Ricard's body was later recovered just feet away from the exit, a cruel twist of fate in a cave that continues to lure in the bold and take the unprepared. John Edward Jones, the Nutty Putty Nightmare. Nutty Putty Cave in Utah is notorious, tight, claustrophobic, and winding like a maze. In 2009, John Edward Jones, medical student, husband, father, got stuck upside down in a passage just 18 inches wide. Rescuers worked for 27 hours, drilled, pulled, tried everything, but gravity worked against him. Blood rushed to his head. His organs failed. He died just inches from being pulled free. The cave was later sealed permanently, with his body still inside. A monument now marks the site, honoring his life and the rescue teams that gave everything to try and save him. The section where John got stuck was known as Ed's Push, and it was considered one of the cave's most deceptive traps. He believed he was crawling into a known passage, but had unknowingly entered an uncharted crevice. As time passed, his breathing became labored, and his voice grew faint. Rescuers tried multiple pulley systems, but every effort only caused more pain. At one point, they even considered breaking his legs to free him. a last resort that risked sending him into shock. His family was nearby the entire time, praying, hoping, waiting. Messages of love were passed down through radios as time slipped away. It was one of the most heartbreaking cave rescues in U.S. history, not just for how close they came, but for how helpless everyone felt in the end. Gollum's Cave, the tunnel that took 4 lives. Gollum's Cave, hidden near BYU's campus in Utah, wasn't on any official tour. It was a local secret. In August 2017, 4 friends squeezed through its submerged entrance in the dead of night. Just a 15-foot tunnel led to a small air chamber. But inside, the air was stale, toxic. The water was rising, and the exit was nearly impossible to find. One by one, they tried to escape, but poor visibility and bad air made it deadly. Jennifer, the first to go in, never made it out. The others followed, unaware. By the time rescue crews arrived, it was too late. The cave was later sealed with concrete to prevent another tragedy. What began as a spontaneous late-night adventure quickly spiraled into chaos. The cave's tight quarters left little room for maneuvering, making every breath a gamble. In the inner chamber, oxygen levels had dropped dangerously low, silently poisoning them. The tunnel became disorienting, and panic set in fast. Without a guide rope or proper lighting, the route back became invisible. 2 of the friends collided in the narrow exit, blocking each other's escape. The final member hesitated just a moment too long before attempting to swim through, and that moment sealed their fate. In total darkness and silence, they were lost. These stories aren't meant to scare off adventurers, but to respect the risk that comes with exploring the unknown. Caves are majestic, mysterious, and humbling, but they're also merciless. And sometimes all it takes is one misstep, one oversight, or one unexpected twist to turn an adventure into a nightmare. If these stories moved you, consider sharing this video to help raise awareness about cave safety. Drop a comment below about which incident hit you the hardest, and if you haven't already, hit subscribe for more true mystery explorations from around the world. Catch you next time. And remember, some places are beautiful for a reason, because they were never meant to be found.